Hey, I'm gonna just quickly review and then go into this new composition, just showing you how I 3D track and everything as well. Um,
Okay.
Real quick. So pretty much we had here where I did the shake on the adjustment layer. So I'm gonna just go over the presets. So like this is gonna be the zoom, the new zoom I made. I'm gonna send this preset out. It's gonna be called new zoom, where you
Zoom.
just create the adjustment layer and then you like type in new zoom and then you can apply the new zoom to the adjustment layer and it'll be a scaling effect. And if you ever need to adjust it accordingly to like your footage, just right click and reset. And if it's 4K, it'll turn like to 1920, 1080 or
Okay.
whatever. And then just adjust the position if you need to, or turn it off and keep it in the same position. But yeah, and the scale is an easy E frame. I mean, easy E key, so it should be smooth. All right, so that's that. And then real quick, this adjustment layer is just a shake, that new shake I did, where it's
hmm
called the new shake July 10 transit preset. Just apply it to your adjustment layer, new shake July 10. And excuse me, new shake. Yeah, July 10 right there. And so all I did was have a motion tile um, to help with the dead space that it creates when it shakes. I have this directional blur, quick little blur that comes up and fades out. Then I have three shakes that they fade out as well. Just a nice little shake effect. And then you can always, if you need to, I left the glow and the exposure there. If you want to put like a flash effect to it in the beginning, it'll flash a little bit.
Okay.
And the last adjustment layer here is going to be, uh, where's that swivel? I had a swivel. I think it's here. Yeah, so for the swivel look where it kind of jiggles a little bit,
hmm
excuse me, sorry. You can apply it to an adjustment layer. It's just a transform tool where I play with the skew axis and the skew. And it's called New Swivel. And I'll be sending all these presets out, labeling them so you know these are what I use on my stuff all the time nowadays. And this is how I use them. And this AEP, this project file will be sent out as well. And so we went over this part where the first effect is him sliding off, simple slide off. Here he is sliding to the right. And then you can, of course, like we said, you can invert the background roto. I mean, you can invert the roto into a background roto like it is here, where
hmm
both are checked. Or like we discussed, you can create a black layer where I have him rotoed. But for instance, you can right click here, uh, layer styles, color overlay, and do it like that and manipulate it like that. So, um, okay, so he slid off and then I had him popping in. So we already discussed, I use 3D layers heavily. If you see here, I just played with this third number here to the right after I have these checked. It starts off at a high negative number usually to zoom in into place and it'll go right back into its starting position.
Okay.
And how I normally easy ease, I usually select my keys and I will go here at keyframe wingman from Mr. Horse Animation Composer 3. It's free with that program.
Okay.
Um, I use that to do these easy ease keyframes. Okay, after that, he slid off. And I think this is him sliding off. I cut out this part, rotoed him, and he slid off. He is behind this inverted background version. That's why he slides off behind the background.
That's smart.
Thank you. And then normally I make sure I have a black solid. If it shows up gray by default or like that, I'll make sure I'll create a black solid to put behind it if I want to. Solid, black, and then I drag this solid all the way to the bottom. So it'll be behind everything, just in case to keep that that look going. And
All
then
right. So wait. Before you go, So how you do that black solid again? You just go to animation, hit solid or layer,
Yes,
layer.
sorry, layer, new, and solid.
Okay.
And usually black is cool, and I hit OK. And that's how I keep that black look behind him when he slides off.
Okay.
And after that, that was a scale in effect, which normally I use when I want to have something get zoomed into. So let's see. If I would have kept this, I think this would have been, yeah. And then I ended up, let's say I want to have him, what is this? Okay, let's just say I want to zoom in. Let's just do an example. So I'll duplicate that background roto, and I'm gonna reverse it this time so it'll show up on the next scene where it ends, and then I will have it go from here. And let me turn off this black solid. And let me turn off this black part. I'll show you what that was doing, but let's say I go here, boom. Okay, normally if I want to do a zoom in effect, I'm gonna have the next scene already ready to go into. So I'm gonna take the next scene, reverse it, and I'm going to place it behind our cutout, our background cutout. So it appears, sorry. So it appears like right here. And the reason it looks like that is because I applied my scale in effect. So how does that look? Well, if I take, that's how it normally would look. But if I want to have something scale in, I type in scale in over here and either choose 1920 by 1920 scale in for 4K footage or 960 scale in for regular 1920 footage, which this is. So I would click this and whoops, on this, we're gonna see, okay, boom, he's gonna slide off and he's gonna reveal this part. So let's just see how it looks. So he's there, slides off. Now that's there. So now that's letting me know I'm about to slide in and zoom into the next scene. So here we have our background. All I'm gonna do is hit the P button, make sure that's checked. We're gonna create a zoom in effect. So keyframe starting position all the way down here, right around here where the scale in is done. So the scale in, what it's doing is it's taking it from like a smaller scale effect. It's about 75, 50 on the blur, and then it scales into the regular position and regular scale and no blur. So about the time it gets there, we want this to be all the way out of the picture. So it's on the next scene only showing. So normally I do like a -2000 for like footage like this, where it's 1920 by 1080, and -2000 puts that all the way off the screen. And then I will select these, hit that, and then now you have a zoom in effect. See how that works? And that's how I simplify zoom ins usually. So from there, we have this next transition we discussed where we popped in. Now it's a zoom in or zoom out, excuse me, zoom out, right? So when I want to zoom out into the next scene, and in this case, we discussed where we took the rotoscope of the next scene and we inverted the background. Right here, you'll see it's inverted. And boom, boom, boom. We took our regular roto off just to see how it looks. So this is normally how it needs to look in the starting position for something like this. Okay. And then we keyframed them, separated them out a little bit, gave them some space, each one. And each one, I didn't scale it. Instead, I would use the axis right here under position to play with the 3D spacing of it.
Okay.
This moving to the right makes stuff smaller in 3D space, zooms it out. To zoom in and make it bigger in 3D space, you would change it to go to the left, which is why this is at negative 414.
Yeah.
And this is like 509. This is the smallest one, bigger number, smaller number, but it's bigger in size. So basically, these just get bigger. You want to just push them more towards the left to pop them all off the screen. And then they'll end up sliding back into those positions we just made, pretty much. Just create those keyframes to get that type of look, zooming in like that.
So it's
And then
really all about the positions of
exact,
that transition.
exactly, and just
Okay.
spacing. And then after that, once it's already into place, we can slide the guy back on, the regular roto we did. And really, we kind of popped him out, moving that number a little bit to the left from 0 to like negative 311, just to kind of do this type of effect where he pops in and he slides right into place.
That's hard. I got a question. So
Yes.
how did you invert it? I'm just trying to remind myself how to do it.
Cool. So if I do like a regular roto of him like this, I will open this up, make sure view resolution full for every roto, and then normally I'll just invert the background here.
Okay. So it's
and refreeze. Yep. Like that. Now, after I redo this, we'll go back and we'll just go over like that last transition or two, and then we can go to like 3D compositing real quick to show you how I do stuff like that.
Okay.
Especially on clear footage like this, I recommend going for it because it's easier to track. Excuse me. And normally I don't do anything crazy. I use After Effects camera tracker. And I'll show you how I use it. Excuse me, real quick here after because I think we've done the main stuff really when it comes to effects. The last thing I think was just showing you how I split stuff. Like how like how we did this was, excuse me, right. So how that kind of just popped into place. Normally I will split a layer in half like this, or like this, dragging a square and creating a mask and then doing it like that. Or I can just rotoscope it how I see fit. So if I see a layer like this, where I'm like, oh, I can take half of this right here, roto that, and then invert it. And then have those two layers pop into place the way they did here. If we go up to here, these two layers pop into place. Now, normally I would have a scale effect where the bottom layer actually can scale and push in as well. So let me show you how that looks. If I pre-compose all this, which is, I think all of this is pre-composed now, which makes it easier for me to manipulate this layer. So, and by the way, if I ever see space like that, where you can start to see dead space, I recommend going to my preset I made called Second. And Second, basically main tile, 200. There's a 4K version, and then there's a 960 version, which is basically just me presetting the tile to duplicate and mirror for you, and you don't have to do all this. It's already set up. Just apply it to your layer, and you should have a mirror effect on it, so there's no more dead space. Okay. And okay, cool. So like how he's done pretty much right around here. Normally I will add like a transform effect. And what I'll do is I'll squeeze him in. It'll be like a squeeze effect. So if you see how it ends here, I'm gonna go ahead, uncheck that uniform scale. I'm gonna keyframe that width right there, and then I'm gonna go all the way to the beginning, right around the first couple frames, like right there. And let me actually keyframe that instead, sorry, and then go all the way to the end. And then we're gonna make the width small, like 0, to where it disappears. And watch how it squeezes in. Watch this. And it just adds to the effect. See how it squeezes?
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just the scaling the width with the transform of the transform effect.
Exactly. Just because it just looks different when you watch it back. It's like, oh snap, did that really just squeeze in? Yeah, it did. So then you have your shake and your zoom and stuff to, like you said earlier, enhance the effect and the swivel and all that if you want. We went over this where like I added an adjustment layer of a custom preset called slide down, where this is the 4K version, this is the regular version. It basically is how you get this sliding effect. You can just put it on an adjustment layer and slide the layer around to wherever you want it to show up at.
So
and thank you. And we will put our position keyframe here, regular position keyframe here, and we're going to slide that first layer up, and that's how you get that look. We went over that part. And then of course he's sliding up after that as well into place. And after that, it's a nice little zoom in effect. I added a nice little muzzle flare from Footage Crate, and it was black originally, so I had to unmult it to get rid of that black. And what else? So after that, boom, we split him up. And how I split people and things up, I go to the last keyframe of the scene, and I will like, I forgot this part, I'll time and I'll freeze on last frame. And then I will
make like
cut,
a still image.
Yeah, I'll create a still of that last frame like that. Then I'll cut that off, drag that where I need it to be. And then I will shorten it to about like 1 second, 1 second and two frames or so. And I'll just duplicate if I need to, but I'll rotoscope each individual part that I want to, manipulate in the next scene, have fall off. And that's how you get these individual still frames like this that are falling off. So let me take off these shakes again real quick. And you'll see the hat was a still frame, hand was still frame, arm, chest. And as you can see, the chest is just sliding to the right. That arm is sliding left. But what we did, we went over real quick that hand, and we discussed how you need to keep that anchor point in the middle. Just hit the Y button, and then center your anchor point before you apply this preset we discussed called jump, spin, drop 4K. That's my main go-to. I'll make sure everybody has that whenever I need to make something spin and jump off or jump into, just play around with that preset. And plus you'll see plenty of others you can play around with, head rotate, just see what they do. But the main point when you use these, how I use it is I go to my transform tools here and I make sure that anchor point, I usually grab this axis number here on the left and make sure it's just going to always be that number. This number is going to slide up and down. This is the main number that needs to stay consistent. As you can see here, it doesn't move. Just make sure it's going to be the same as this anchor point number. And that's how this stuff stays in place when you apply the preset. That's all you got to do manually. Everything else you can tweak with.
For sure.
And then, like we discussed, if you want an effect to stretch out, time, stretch, you could do that. Or you, like you said, you can select all your keyframes, hit the Alt, and then drag it out or drag it in to stretch the effect out as well. And I think that was the last part for this section, and we can slide over to the 3D comp part real quick. Here, I'll play something. I'll play two things. One I worked on here is a title sequence for Sosa Man. So here you see I had a lot going on. First thing I'll discuss real quick, this didn't take too long. I added his name and the title, Superhero Sosa Man. So for good footage like this, especially, it doesn't take much, but I'll show you what I normally do for everything. I will create a pre-comp of the 3D scene and we'll call it like 3D or something. And then inside the scene, let's just say we're starting from the top. So I will go ahead, take all this off. So this is how the scene looked before everything, I believe. Well, sorry. Okay. Here. So I'm gonna go here. Yeah. Okay, cool. Got it. So, and let me make sure this is not, yeah. So, this is just a play around copy. So for this, we have our basic footage is going to be this. And this, I ended up, let me show you how it looks without all that. So this is just the basic footage. Okay, so basically what I do is I'll take this, I will go to the preset I made called 3D something, something with this, yeah, 3D first step scene. And all I do is I add it, I double click it, and then these curves and a sharpen pull up just to help you, just to help the computer find points a little better, add a little contrast. Yeah. And I'll pre-compose this. And then I'll go on top of that, and then I will apply track camera. And then on top of that, I'll try to hit detailed analysis as well under the advanced tab, just so all of that can help it track points better. Especially on like ungraded footage, it helps it figure out where everything is. So
for sure.
After it's done analyzing, usually it'll give you a percentage. I mean, but if you're already familiar with that, you already know what the deal is.
I'm kind of familiar with that. Some new.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the 3D camera tracker, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, cool. So it's whipping through, it's about to be done. Doesn't take long. And I don't use it on like extremely long scenes. I'd say about like 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds at the extreme most. You want to track at once. All right, cool. So it's solving. Oh, okay. So hold up. I'll open After Effects real quick again. Crash. Oh, never mind. So, okay, so here is tracker. Okay. I think on this one I did like and just play around with the settings just until you get what you need. You should see dots pop up. I might just go to my already done scene. Yeah, let me go here.
That's fine. I got a question.
Yeah.
So you work on a Mac or a PC?
PC.
I understand. I'm a MacBook guy.
Yeah, MacBooks are clean. This is what I was going to show you. So when you get to this point, you have these dots pop up, and yeah, then you can either like drag and select and then hit like create solid or solids. It's up to you. You just want the camera to be created so you can get to this point where you have your camera and yeah. Okay, so we got the camera made, and let's see. I just want this to pop up. Okay, so with this, I pretty much had these adjustments. I needed to, because this is how it looked without it, where you couldn't really see the words. I had to like blur out the words behind it just to kind of make it pop out more. That's all that was. And I applied like a directional blur. And I just masked the blur to like show up right there. And I kind of just keyframe the mask to stay in place. I think that's all that was for the blur.
Did you do your
But
own text or you got it from like?
yeah, for the text, my fault. I meant to say, so for the text, I would take like the 3D track. Sorry, not that one. This is a better track I did. So I would just take that and create text in camera. And that's how I did that. And then,
Oh, okay.
or you can create like a solid. Normally I create a solid, but I needed to create text in this case. I needed to add the title and name. So once I hit that create text in camera, it created this, and I created these 2 points. And I kind of just played around with the rotation, the anchor, and the scale mainly to slide it into place to look like that. Same with this one. And after you, and make sure these automatically will be on, but make sure those are on when you have 3D layers underneath the 3D camera that you want to show up and stay in place. But outside of that, like you said, I created the text. Sosa Man. I found a font called a dripping marker. That was like a graffiti type of look with a drip to it, I guess. So and same with this one. Um, and because the track was so solid, it pretty much stayed into place, honestly. It didn't really move too much. It's moving a little bit on this one, but it's not bad. So outside of that, it was, oh yeah, I had, where's it at? Okay, so this right here is another part of the effect I created. It was a few layers to this effect. So you see how all of that is going on. Well, pretty much for stuff like that where I want letters to fall off like a sign or something. And the sign is pretty fair where you can finesse like the background. Here's how I did this. Nothing crazy. I uh I masked this square part, like rotoed it. Here is the roto. Here. So I rotoed that out and inverted it so it looks like that. So I also, so let's start with like just the basics, like boom. So for the letters, I had to rotoscope those. So this is the rotoscope I did of the letters. Obviously, it's pretty small. Let me zoom in. So that was the rotoscope I did of the the letters, and then I split it up manually by pre-composing this, and then I separated each out by masking each part, like individually separating, or you get the vibe though. You can just roto each part, it doesn't matter. But that's how I got the letters to show up the way they did. So excuse me. After that, where am I? After that, sorry, I'm old place. So okay, that's the letters. So that's why they are able to split like that. And how I animated it, I'll show you in a second. I just want to show you how I got this part clean like that. Obviously, this is how the sign originally looked. It didn't look like that. So I basically got it to look like this by going to Windows, making sure content aware fill is selected. And then this is going to be, excuse me. So this is how it would look normally, right? Now it's up to you. That for this, I pretty much knew that I wanted to fill this in using content aware fill. And normally you can like go to object, work area, make sure your work area is selected, and have it to where you can you can generate a fill layer, and it'll try to fill this in according to what it thinks it's supposed to be, which you would want it to be yellow. Now, in this case, I didn't really waste time on that. I just went ahead and created a reference layer.
Mhm.
But first, I had to fill that layer in real quick to give it something to follow, which is the normal frame, which what it normally looks like. So then I hit create reference frame, and that's how I got this right here.
Okay.
Now this is how it looked. This is how the reference frame looked because it automatically opened up Photoshop, and then I was able to smudge and content and do all that fancy stuff. If you look up how to do that, and then I was able to finesse this to look like that in Photoshop, this one frame,
Mm.
and saved it in Photoshop, and it automatically brought it back into here and updated it. Now, what I had to do was I had to scale this up a bit, as you can see, a lot, just to kind of make sure I only got the yellow part. And then I had to like 3D track this. So I used like a 3D camera. I got the camera there, and that's how I kept it in place. Or you can manually do it. It's up to you. You just want to make sure this yellow part stays as smooth as possible in place, so you don't have to like go through all this over here. You can just do it manually and quickly. Now it slides a little bit, but you can't even really tell because it's just yellow.
For
But
sure.
that's the main thing. And I'll show you real quick how stuff like that works in your favor when you learn how to manually finesse stuff like that. Like I have people, like how I make people blink.
Mhm.
I had these cartoons blink over here. I think it was right here. So like right here, you see how his eyes, like I zoomed into his eye and then it blinked a little bit.
Yeah.
Now this one is kind of sloppy. I didn't keep the eyebrow there, but for something like this, or even like these real quick, you know what I'm saying? You can finesse stuff like this easy just by rotoscoping the eye part and then like inverting it as well. So you got your regular your regular roto right here and your inverted roto with the background. So, excuse me, this is how it looks. And then you can put your roto back in there. And then on top of the roto, you're gonna have a super big layer like this. This is how it would look without the background part on top of it, which is pretty much you just want enough of the skin showing on top, which I'll show you in a second. Like if I didn't have the linear effect on, you want it to look like it's already blinking
For sure.
because the scale is so big and you position it to where it matches the skin underneath. And then just kind of play with the scale and position to keep it in place, basically, the skin that you want showing for each blink. And that's how you can kind of finesse a blink easily when you're, and then for the blink part, I add linear wipe and I make sure it's like around 17 degrees or whatever. So this is how the blink looks when you kind of go into the keyframes. I just go and eyeball it like around 51% of the linear wipe to about 51. Wait, hold, sorry. What is this? Yeah, so 50.1, just kind of play with the numbers till you get like that blink look. Like the wipe has to come all the way down.
For sure.
And then you can wipe it all the way back, like and then reverse it. Just stuff like that. Just how you can finesse stuff like this easily for quick stuff like that.
That's
And
hard.
thanks. And back to that 3D real quick. You just sorry, I'm all over the place. Sorry. So real quick for the end of that 3D. So we pretty much got the sign part down. All I'm going to show you after that is just how I did the letters. So for the word part, you want to track the words pretty much similar to how you tracked the words before. You want to just 3D track this whole scene and make sure you have your camera there. And as far as these words go, sorry, I would just say 3D track them first,
Okay.
and then create like a composition of the 3D tracked words. What I mean is, like, what did I do here? So, oh, actually, my fault. Wait, no, first you want to apply your animation. So in this case, I had something sliding off, boom, and then I had this part. What do I do here? Yeah, you just want to make sure your animations are in place before you 3D track them back onto the sign. So yeah, I just applied like that spin drop effect and did it like that. And then from here, I pre-composed all these animations, went back here, and then sorry. Okay, so here we are. And then from there, I 3D tracked this, right? No, I didn't. But normally you might have to, if it's not already a part of the scene like this is, you would normally have to 3D track it. But all right, anyway, so that's how that worked out. And then the part after it is what I 3D tracked, this hero part that popped in to place. So pretty much I had it to where this spun right into place and I 3D tracked it. So I made sure I had this thing ready to go. And I pre-composed all this. Once this part was ready for the next part, I pre-composed all this. So I selected all of it where I could pre-compose. And then I think around here is where wrong one, sorry. Around here is where I did him. So this is the 3D figure I had pop into place. So pretty much, and that's, let me see, sorry about that. Yeah. Well, see. Okay, there it is, sorry. Okay, boom. So, so I'll be right back, sorry.
I know, you're good. Take your time.
So basically, I'm trying to get this part short, but you'll see this hero spins into place. I just wanted to show you. I think I just 3D tracked him into place, like here. Okay, so here I did a 3D track of him. So how I did that is I did a whole nother track of just him in the footage. The regular footage, I tracked him onto the regular footage because he wasn't a part of it, obviously, originally. And now it's tracked to the footage. So then I turned this off and just left him there and pre-composed all this. And now I just have that. And then I also auto-traced him on this so I can get a mask of him, just him, what you see here, just in case. And then I slid over to that pre-count we were just in. Sorry about that, which I think is 3-2. Sorry, sorry about that. It's a whole bunch of comps, but here's the original. So I'm gonna just go ahead and use this original pre-compose. copy that real quick, slide it all the way back here. So, okay, boom. So